Um, so I'd like to introduce myself and my fellow co-presenter. So I'm Anne-Marie, I'm the Head of Membership at GS1 UK. GS1 UK provide our members with unique GTINs, and that's the number that powers the barcode and enables brands to trade in-store on marketplaces such as Amazon and social media platforms, including TikTok Shop. GS1 UK have around 59,000 members, and the majority of these members are startups and SMEs. We aim to support our members to grow and also to help them get it right first time. So social media platforms are changing. They've recognized the influence that they have with consumer buying habits and have included shopping functionality or marketplaces within their platforms. So an example of that would be TikTok, who are the fastest growing mobile and social media platform, and it now requires GS1 GTINs when listing products in TikTok Shop. So in order to guide you through the plethora of social media platforms that are out there at the moment, we've collaborated with Push, which is one of the largest digital marketing agencies in the UK, and who can help you to identify the best place to advertise your brand. So I'll hand it over to Steve, who is CEO at Push. Before I do that, please just remember to put all of your questions in the Q&A rather than the chat, so we don't want it to get lost in the conversation. And also the webinar will be shared with everybody at the end. Thank you. Over to Steve.
Thanks so much. So a very quick introduction to Push. We're based in London, but we have offices around the world, and we're a marketing agency. We value our partnerships with the likes of Google, Microsoft, TikTok, Meta, and Amazon. And we have the highest level partnerships with all of those that are very important to us because it allows us to get things done quickly with them and help businesses like yours to move forward. What we're going to talk through today, very quickly, we're going to look at what happened in 2022 in the world of marketing, digital marketing. We'll look at social media and how it's developed, what sort of fuss around. We'll focus a lot on TikTok. And the reason that we're doing that is in the 16 years that we've been running Push, it's been the biggest change or challenge we've seen. So we were at the very early days of Google advertising in 2007 when we started. And we've seen that those channels grow, but TikTok is something that needs attention for everyone. We'll also look at some creative recommendations for your business, how to approach creatives with your social media. So let's start looking at 2022, going back. A lot changes very quickly, but when you look at the overall landscape, you had some things going against all of us, so headwinds, and some things in our favor, tailwinds. Let's have a look at those. So let's start off very quickly. You can all remember, it seems sometimes like it's a distant memory, but COVID had a big impact on trading last year. You had lots of other things taking place as well. So you had increasing platform competition in digital. So the likes of TikTok emerging against Meta. Later on in the year, you had many of you will be aware of other platforms coming through like ChatGPT and so on, but lots going on in the world of technology, privacy and tracking. There was a dip for some e-commerce companies that had brilliant periods during the pandemic and then either couldn't get stock afterwards or just found it very difficult. And a whole load's going on against us, including the war and the cost of living crisis. But in our favor, obviously it came to the end of COVID. The new platforms emerging gave us an opportunity. We had a lot coming through on social e-commerce, some strong AI-driven campaigns, so artificial intelligence like Google's PMax, some emerging markets coming through, and search on social. We're starting to see a real trend of people looking for products on social channels that we hadn't seen before. And in the first webinar that we did, we talked about digital marketing being the largest part of the overall marketing pie. So companies in Britain's an advanced, it's one of the most, if not the most advanced market for digital advertising in the world. Google ranks the UK as second only to the US in terms of spend, but there's a lot of very strong practices in digital that are upheld by British companies and London companies in particular. And we as a nation, we spend about 70% of our total advertising budget on digital. Last time we talked a little bit about search. This time we're going to talk mainly about social and what we mean by that. Now, social is a very heavily used term. If you were sat in front of the kind of key decision makers at TikTok, they would say, for example, that it's not a social platform, it's an entertainment platform that's moving and merging into search. But I'll let you be the judge of that. This is our world. So 7 years ago, if you'd come into our offices, you'd have seen everyone looking at Google screens, looking at Google results. Now it's changed. Now they're having to look at lots of different campaigns. And if you're a business owner, it's very hard knowing where to invest your money, where to put your money as far as channels go, whether it's paid money or search engine optimization. It's become a lot more challenging for you to know where to invest. And we've seen in the last year, this is looking at a range of customers that we're working with, spending around 35 million, looking at the average cost per click, CPC. And what happened last year is overall, whether you were selling products or services, the average cost per click increased last year significantly. And the maths, frankly, were not stacking up for some businesses. We were seeing increasing cost per click and a decrease in conversion rates. So overall, their return was challenged. It became a lot more difficult for them to be able to make money. So the companies that were winning in this equation were those that had really invested in their brand marketing and benefited from very high customer retention and loyalty. They also probably had low CPCs and high cost per clicks and high CTRs, click-through rates. And also they were able to generate cheap traffic through organic channels. So as our business, for example, we have a heritage in paid advertising, but we moved heavily last year into putting a lot of our clients onto organic channels and making sure they were getting free traffic through search engine optimization. The businesses that were losing, it's obviously the opposite. Brands or startups who are new to advertising, people with high CPCs and low CTRs, and people that were too reliant on paid advertising. One thing that there's a number of pages here that are really worth dwelling on for some time. This is a key one, and this works across all of the different businesses we work with, and that is companies who properly nurture their leads across the funnel. So they're not just playing, let's say, for example, down here in action, which is like, say, for example, on Google Shopping. Let's say you're selling a pet food. And all you're doing is advertising on Google for whatever organic pet food. That's in Google Shopping. That's in the action zone of getting someone to convert when they're highly likely to click and potentially convert. But what we're seeing is that businesses that are spending time nurturing the funnel, so building up awareness, interest, and desire across other platforms, other social platforms, they're the ones getting the lowest overall blended cost per click, cost per acquisition. So marketing, from our point of view, I've been in marketing so long. It's incredible. I've been nearly 40 years in marketing. From a very early age, and it's going through a very significant change. Marketers right now are shifting their strategies heavily towards creative. Okay, so there was a survey at the back end of last year, run by Forrester, which showed that there was a lot of attention shifting towards creatives, and this will come across in the presentation that we run. We have clients where we are having to go to them and say, you either need to improve your creatives yourselves, or we need to do it for you, or you're not going to get the results that you want. So let me talk about that. This is what used to be the case in marketing. We used to be focused on these sorts of areas. Anyone that's got any ad campaign management will know the sorts of technology or terminology we're talking about. I'm not going to dwell on that, but that's how it was. This is how it's moving. And this is the shape of change that we're seeing. So it's moving from campaign type to become much more creatively driven, okay, because of the result of, in particular, of AI. So AI is driving a lot of this where agencies in the past used to have to work manually on all of these things on the left. That's now being driven in the middle by advanced AI. So the shift is changing. Creative assets are becoming much more important, and we're seeing a lot of our time being focused on development of great creative assets. Now, this guy, some of you may recognize. So we're seeing a change in marketing. This is David Ogilvy. So we're seeing 3 eras in marketing. So this is the era very much, many of you will know the phrase, I know that half of my advertising works. The trouble with, I don't know which half. This is the era of, if you like, creativity, hunch, intuition, the era where perhaps the knowledge of how to make advertising work was with the few. We then moved into a more democratic advertising arena where you had so many different platforms. This is the second era. So this is where you could start to measure your return on advertising investment through all these different platforms. And we believe quite strongly that you're now seeing an era, a third era, in which the many, so that's all of us, all of you, can start to leverage the knowledge from data and the creativity to be able to drive winning campaigns. So that's a big shift and a big change we're seeing in advertising. So there's a quick overview of 2022 and how things are changing. It was a big change last year, and we have a phrase in Push, which is what works this year won't work next year. It's constantly changing. Very much so. I'm not going to dwell too much on Meta, Facebook, and Instagram campaigns. We spend a lot of money on these platforms, but I'm going to focus a lot of our time on some of the other platforms because I think they're interesting for many of you. But suffice to say, the big news last year was that Facebook cost per clicks were the highest they've ever been. They were very, very high, and we saw a lot of people divesting from Meta into other channels. Feel free, if anyone's got any questions, to ask us about that and about Meta in particular. But I didn't want to focus on this in this occasion in the short time we've got, because there's so much being talked about Meta already, and there's so many other platforms we want to focus on. So this is one of the, you can see this, you don't need me to tell you, but there's new reports constantly highlighting the decline of Meta and Instagram as TikTok becomes the new home of entertainment. Many of you will know this yourself from your own experience. And you'll see more of this as we go through. Let's have a look at some of the other platforms. So Pinterest, often overlooked platform, but 70% of Pinterest users are female. 40% of fathers in the US use Pinterest. So it's a really useful platform to consider for advertising. Compared to other social media, Pinterest users have intent and interest already. So if you think about the nature of them, they're 53% more likely to agree that videos inspire them to take action. They're twice as likely to use video to discover new ideas. So it's a very interesting platform for you to consider for your products. They're also more likely to say that Pinterest inspires them during the shopping journey. And you can see some of the stats here. So the middle one, Pinterest has increased the number of shoppable products by 2.5 times. Ads on Pinterest delivered 2.3 times lower cost per conversion than other social media channels. So some of the tactics we use in Pinterest is making sure the strategy is in line with your goals, focusing on campaign types and audiences that fit the individual customer's objectives. We use interest and keyword optimizations, continuously reviewing interests and keywords in line with the performance. So it's about constant analysis. You can't just put a campaign on and just let it run. You have to constantly review, and relentless creative testing on Pinterest. Snapchat. So Snap, again, had a very mixed couple of years, but we're seeing some interest there. It's the world's most used camera. In the UK, there are 21 million active users on Snapchat as of last year. and the community is unique and it's not duplicated. So there's not the same crossover as with other platforms. On Snapchat, advertisers can reach new audiences who are not on other platforms. You can see that to some extent by looking at the chart on the right, which shows you the exclusivity. So it's an interesting one to explore as an advertising channel. There's some good, promising placement opportunities. It's a variety of placements that can be used for multiple purposes, including story ads, collection ads, single image, DPA catalog, and video as well. So lots to consider in the way. It's not just one format of advertising. And some really smart creatives as well. So the best performing Snap ad generated purchase at 6 times higher than others. So really, really useful for you to see. We can see as well Snapchat trends on a website. So you can look at this with case studies and current trends on the app. However, it's not so well updated and diversified. It tends to be very US centric. So that's Snap. So I think if you think your product might work on Snapchat or Pinterest, if you're not sure, let us know. We'll give you an indication. We'll tell you for sure if we think it's a no-go. But feel free to reach out to us. It's definitely worth considering. Let's talk about TikTok now. We want to talk about it because it's in the 17 years we've been running, it's the biggest emerging platform. By some mile. We ran a webinar 2 weeks ago where we had nearly 1,000 signups coming along, and many of you will know many big brands that came along. A lot of big players, well-known high street brands in the UK still don't know how to make this channel work. But it is working, and it's an opportunity, particularly for smaller businesses that can make decisions quickly. And let's explore some of that. So many of you will know, by the way, one of the phrases we used a few years ago was TikTok. Remember when you thought WhatsApp was just for kids? So if you think TikTok is just for kids, please think again. You'll see very quickly that it's emerging as a platform used by many other age groups, and a lot of the data lags. Even TikTok won't go out there and publish the most recent data showing user stats, but this is some of the data that we've gathered looking at average time spent on channel. What you can see is TikTok is enormous in terms of its time consumption, typically very high. I'm sure any of you that've got TikTok on your phones have probably set limits because it's so addictive. But users, all of us, we use paid social channels differently. So there's different approaches on each of these. It doesn't matter what I do. Personally, I do look at TikTok because of the nature of our business, and I always look at Instagram as well. But you can see the different ways to emphasize behavior and activity on each of the channels. So kind of like teasing on TikTok, inspiring on Pinterest, socializing, and so on. Lots of different approaches here. And users are searching on social. If any of you have seen, if you're in the London area and you've been on the underground, you've seen TikTok advertising, not just on posters, but also they're advertising on the TV, on mainstream TV. In over Christmas in the World Cup, they were advertising on that platform. In between games, encouraging people. They were showing people of my generation, showing them how to search for stuff on the platform. But you can see that people are using these platforms to search. It's not just about social grazing. And what we see for 2022 is, there's a large number of time spent on TikTok, a large number of women, over 1 billion active users. The numbers are pretty impressive. And for small businesses, SMBs, these can be an SMB. It can be a business that's just one person, right up to turnovers over around 100 million. But SMBs are already on TikTok, and 78% say they plan to increase their investment on the platform. We are seeing quick movement on TikTok. from the SMB sector. And to some extent, they're being quicker than a lot of larger enterprise level companies. The community is pretty unique. TikTok advertisers can reach new audiences who are not on Facebook and Instagram. And it can also complement your existing advertising campaigns. So if you're running campaigns on Google, Microsoft, or Meta, you can also use add TikTok into the mix here. Often we'll get inquiries from people where they've got X thousand followers on Instagram and no presence on TikTok, and we can see very quickly there's an opportunity there. Now, this data is old, so there's a caveat to this. But let me tell you, your audience is on TikTok. It will be on TikTok, even though you think it's maybe perhaps you might think it's for a younger generation. The highest converting age group is over 55. And this is old data. So we know instinctively that if that data were at real time today, I suspect that you'll see a much higher proportion of over 45s, over 35s on TikTok now. It's pretty drastic, the change. And if you reuse TikTok content on Meta and Snapchat, then you can completely change your reach. You can take a TikTok reel, as we've done here on the left-hand side. This is one of our own, and put it onto Instagram, and you can see some of the numbers that we've hit. It's a real strong performances, very easy to do, well worth starting. Often initiating a campaign on TikTok and then exporting it onto the other platforms. So quickly, how it works, the algorithm is nothing like Meta's or other platforms. So don't assume you can optimize TikTok campaigns in the same way. It is not the same. So far, it tends to push the same ad to users repeatedly. So the frequency increases rapidly. So we recommend diversifying your videos, especially the first 3 seconds, as much as possible. Ideally, don't have the same or similar videos running for one audience, even if you are targeting the same audience in 2 separate ad groups. Go with your largest in size, the largest in terms of possible audience, and put your key focus on the creative. Also, retargeting works when the size of the audience is big enough. A new and good creative is absolutely everything. So we went from probably, I think, a year and a bit ago, having hardly anything on TikTok, taking on our first TikToker in the summer, to now running regular TikTok campaigns across scores of clients. So you can see some of the timelines there, looking at starting from November 2021, and looking at how that progressed over time. I'm going to move on to give you a flavor of the anatomy of TikTok. So there's 4 key success factors to consider to getting TikTok to work for your business. Number 1 is purpose. Educate, entertain, cause chaos, gain customers, show behind the scenes. These are all legitimate ways to try and gain attention. The audience, there's over 1 billion active users. You start big, broad, and then refine. And there's many, many niches available. Trends, they do come and go. So you can sometimes jump on the back of trend, but jump on the right ones that are right for your business, not just one that happens to be big. If it doesn't sit with your business, that's not a smart idea, but you can ride on the back of some trends. And then think about the TikTok community management and how that will work for you. So it actually gives you a chance to use TikTok comments and messages for new content inspiration, and then you respond to it. These usually cause quite viral moments. So think about this, make TikToks, not ads, so don't think I'm going to make an advertising campaign. Think about TikTok first and how it can work. So think about how you can educate, how you can entertain, how you can show behind the scenes, and show how you can use trends. But don't think of, right, I'm going to put an ad on here. Think about how you can actually make a relevant TikTok. So the hashtag TikTok made me buy it. 71% of users said that TikTok inspired them to shop. I myself have gone on and bought directly from TikTok. but many more of you will do the same, just as you've done from other platforms as well. I'm going to show you some examples now of campaigns. Now, the sound may not come out here, but at least you'll get a perspective in the video, I hope.
TikTok made me buy it. TikTok made me buy it.
TikTok made me buy it. It's a migraine hat that helps relieve headache in a minute. If you prefer, it can use hot therapy as well. This is super comfy, so you can literally go to sleep with it on your head. You need this in your life.
Maybe you don't need that in your life. I certainly don't, but you get the point. You can sell your products directly on TikTok, okay? So you can use a product feed to set up a storefront on TikTok. For many of you, I'd really encourage you to look at this at this stage. What you'll see as a theme here is that there's an opportunity to try it and get ahead of the competition while costs are still relatively low. In a year's time, maybe even in 9 months' time, that opportunity may have gone, because what we see with every single platform we've worked with is that at the start, the costs are relatively low and gradually they climb. So some quick creative recommendations for you to consider before we move on to some questions. As I said at the start, we are seeing a big return to brand marketing creatives. So where we were 10 years ago, it was all about just the data, the text ad and the data and the clicks. Now we're seeing an environment where we have an attention economy. We've got to grab people's attention in a very short space of time. People are increasingly exposed to ads and they get fatigued. And so there's increasing competition and there's a shift in the way that search is happening. So we're seeing more and more people. I think there's a stat, and I don't know if this is backed up yet, but within a certain generational group, so I think it's under 20s in the USA, they now use TikTok to search more than they do Google, as an example. So they'll go on and search for, best restaurant, best sneakers, best whatever. So it's changing the landscape. That's what we mean by the search engine shift. So some recommendation: make your ads feel organic. So research your industry and put yourself in the shoes of the customer. The TikTok algorithm and For You page is tailored to your interests. If an ad doesn't blend in with the content your audience watches, it's very easy for it to stick out in the wrong way. So the consumer needs to enjoy the video. I use that straight, emphasize it, enjoy the video to be interested in the product. Use the #1 genre on TikTok, entertainment, to guide finding the right tone of voice. If you're not already on the platform as a user, as a consumer, I'd spend some time before just rushing in and briefing, someone in your team or your agency, get us on TikTok. I would personally take the time to spend a few weeks on it, just searching, just seeing what happens, and start to get a feel for how much of an entertainment platform it is. Highly entertaining ads are just more likely to get people to buy. It's as simple as that. There's just a stronger correlation. And this is an example. So L'Oreal, I mean, this blew me away when I heard the numbers, but they have massively taken away spend from Meta, from Instagram and Facebook, and put it into TikTok. So this is an example of a big business or a big brand that have heavily gone into TikTok. And this is just one example. You may not like it because you're not target audience, but it's worked because it's produced 7.8 million views.
Everybody, let's spend the morning together. So once I've cleansed my skin, washed my face after a long sleep, I go straight on my L'Oreal Paris Revitalift Clinical 12% Pure Vitamin C Serum. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's literally like my best kept secret. It's lovely. Vitamin C is so great for your skin. I feel like it's really evened out my skin tone. My pores look fresher. I feel like I look brighter. I feel like I'm glowing from within. Yeah. I just said that, didn't I? But vitamin C is so great for your skin. So I would definitely recommend adding this into your routine. Okay, next up, we're in the kitchen and I'm going to cook up some porridge. I feel like as soon as October hits, all I want in the mornings is this warm bowl of porridge that just sits in my stomach all day. Do you know what I mean? And I do actually think porridge is like the best breakfast ever. I like it. It is like what they say, a slow releasing carb. It doesn't make you last until, you know, lunch. But I do oat milk, that's barista oat milk, and just
moved on from there, but you can see where it was going. So it felt very real, it felt very natural, and yet that's been created by L'Oreal and driven by L'Oreal. So and they are spending millions on this platform. As I said before, I strongly believe that there's still a lot of room for smaller businesses to engage on the platform, and indeed, if just to learn from the creative content. Second recommendation is plan ahead of balancing, optimizing old and creating new content. Content planners help to structure organic content and carry it over to paid ads. We advise you to spend 60% of your budget testing new creatives and 40% on testing iterations of the existing performing assets. So something that's doing well, try and work on a new variant of it. Repurpose your TikTok content onto other channels to find what speaks to your demographic most successfully. And then this is like how creative testing reduced the cost per lead by 60%. So this is an existing client of ours. So I'll give you an example of it. And this is worked very well. We've worked with this client for 7 years. It's a small business, but here you go.
I got my gold tested and it was worth thousands. I sent my gold to Cash for Gold now, and here is the process. Once they receive the package, sent with free tracked and insured delivery, gold was tested and valued with the latest technology. Sign up, get your envelope, and make cash today.
Okay, so not like we had to hire a film crew to get that advert done, but incredibly effective.
I got my gold tested, and it was worth thousands.
Right. Number 3, pay attention to your hook and hold rate. So businesses traditionally pay attention to their cost per lead or sale and click-through rates. In order to drive revenue from TikTok, you first need them to watch your videos. The first thing we've got to do. And then analyzing differences in what are called hook and hold rates will help you optimize videos to get more sales, more clicks, giving you more data. So that's important for your business. You can also speed up analysis with the right tools. So this is our own tool that we use, but it helps in trying to understand in the overall scheme of things and how your ads are performing. We're looking across different campaigns. Fourth recommendation is learning from performers. Let the data drive your decisions. Review your engagement, comments, shares, and save to truly understand what performed well. Use the learnings from the performance to amend existing creatives and guide your new content. And then look beyond your own data and see how people are engaging with other content online. And of course, this is something we emphasize to everyone we work with, is be prepared to test new ideas. So for yourself, really think about how you can test input. It's very important to be super flexible with your creative mindset. Particularly when creators propose new ideas to you, or you even work with other people in your team to get ideas. Content is very subjective, and your personal dislike of a video could be a blocker to your success. Really think about that. I often used to say to people, and this would be challenging, I might be in a room with clients and I would point at myself and say, don't listen to what I think. With all respect, doesn't really matter what you think. What matters is what the data is saying, and try different things. Don't be put off. Some of the most successful campaigns come from some of the most strange and obscure landing pages, creatives, and so on. It's don't be too caught up in that, and just test things differently. Be prepared to keep on testing. Support the idea of creative testing and having to use the test different ideas that may fall into new categories that your brand has maybe not yet ventured into. And above all, don't be afraid to fail. You will fail along this journey, but it's all part of a learning process that needs to be accelerated. We're offering, I'm wrapping up now, we're offering businesses a free audit. We've been running these from the back of the most recent webinar we've done. You can claim that by going, just emailing Creative Audit to challenge@pushgroup.co.uk. So we'll be happy to audit your existing creatives, or indeed what potential creatives you could have for your business that would work on all of these platforms, whether it's TikTok, Meta, Pinterest, Snapchat, or anywhere else. So please feel free to reach out. We'll try and help you with an audit. We have got a bit of a backlog from the last seminar we run, but we will get to all of them and run them. And then there's no big follow-up. I was saying to the team at GS1 earlier, we once you have your audit, you might get another email saying, do you need any more help? But that's it. I'm afraid we don't have time, but if people want us to help them further, then they can get in touch. And when I say we don't have time, what I mean by that is this whole area of creatives and driven by what's happened with TikTok has just exploded. And I hope that's come across in this session. I'll open up now for any questions. So I've gone through that quite a pace. We will make this available for you. And my name again is Steve Hyde. If anyone wants to connect on LinkedIn or ask me any questions, you're very welcome to. We'll try and get back to you as quickly as we can. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and then we'll see if there's any questions that we can answer.
Thank you, Steve. There are quite a few questions that have been coming through on the chat as you've been talking. One of them was when you're a small business bootstrapping marketing, can we afford an agency like Push? Now, I think you've probably just answered that question with the free session that you're offering SMEs.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's two ways of approaching it. It's the most common question that we get. And we typically, in a month, we get about 100 inquiries from businesses. So we've worked to develop some low-cost solutions for small businesses that can't normally afford an agency fee. So there are some opportunities to work with businesses like ours where you're in at a low-cost level. Mm-hmm. But even if you're not, you can take advantage of some initial advice. One of the things that I would say to any business with a really bootstrap budget is the advice you should be looking for is, if you were going to spend money on advertising, sorry, what's happened there? Well, I lost that.
You're still with us?
Can you? Okay, I've stopped sharing my screen. Okay, so is that okay? You can't see the screen, can you?
No, we can see you.
Good. Yeah, something just suddenly came up and threw me. So yeah, if you are very bootstrapped, one of the key questions is, if you don't have a certain budget, what should you do? What should you do differently? It might be better to wait until you have built up a certain budget rather than spending a small amount, say, in the first 6 months. I'm going to give you an example, okay? It doesn't matter about the numbers, but let's say someone needed £4,000 to run, to run a certain campaign. If they didn't have that money, there's no point in them trying to spend £2,000 and trying to bootstrap to run it perhaps on their own, or even run it without the right support. So you should ask, and feel free to ask other agencies, and be wary of what everyone says, but you should ask, because there is a level where if you can't do it with confidence yourself, it's better to wait until you can afford to do it with an agency. But there are also automated solutions out there like our own, where you can get some advice, and then we might even turn back to you and say, and other good agencies that are, I think, ethical, will say, look, you're not ready yet, but do this, get this in order first. So it might be improve your conversion rate optimization on your website. It might be spend more time on getting these products higher up on Amazon. We often say that to people, because the last thing any decent agency would want is to take someone on that ends up failing in 3 months. You don't want that position at all. But it's a very common question that we get.
We've got a lot of questions about which platforms to use. So which platform would you recommend would be the best one for paid placements platform? And the product that they're talking about is golf accessories for an audience of UK golfers aged between 35 to 55.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'm glad I can answer that as a golfer. I mean, I'd be all over TikTok on that because you'll have people on TikTok. Why? And I don't think I don't know if I emphasize it strong enough, but the relative cost per click or cost per acquisition on TikTok compared to, say, Meta is about half. So if you ran a campaign on Instagram, let's say, I don't know, for a golf swing, you know, like one of those tools that goes on your arms or wrists and corrects us, you know, and is like an alignment tool or anything else, you know, it could be, you know, whether it's, you know, shoes or whatever. There are groups on those platforms that you can target. Golf is one of the best ones for social media because you can really target people. You can target people, for example, there are on both TikTok and on Meta, for example, there are people following hashtags like golf swing, you know, or, you know, chipping or pitching, and there are large numbers that you can start to target. But the general question, which is which platform would you go for, is very dependent on the actual product. In the case of golf, if you said to me now, and I don't know a great deal about the business, but if you said you're in charge of the marketing, it's a business selling products related to golf. 10 years ago, I'd have told you to get onto Google Shopping. Now it's too competitive. Now I'd be saying, or even on Amazon, it could be competitive. Now I'd be saying you really should explore these social channels because golfers will be looking, particularly on Google, on TikTok and on Instagram. People are looking to search. They're looking for example, sorry to go on about golf, but they're looking to find out how to improve their pitching, or how to improve, getting out of a bunker, or some sort of, they'll be looking for that. So you can actively target people and see people that are seeing those feeds come through. And then you would then build up a campaign. You wouldn't just go in there with your product necessarily, but you would start to build that audience. And again, it depends very much on the nature of the product that you're trying to, excuse the pun, pitch on golf.
Mm-hmm. So it's a classic example of TikTok made me buy it. So they're going on there to improve their technique, and as a consequence, they're seeing the different products that can help them to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen things that on the channels that I've bought. I mean, everyone's into different things. I'm into snowboarding and music and golf. And I've gone on, I've directly bought things that I never even knew existed because I've been following some of those channels on Meta and on TikTok. Okay,
so that actually leads on very well to another question. Does TikTok work for all purchases of different values, or is it specifically useful for low value purchases?
We can certainly work for low value purchases. But I think, ultimately it comes down to what your objective is and understanding things like margins, but it can work for very low value products as well. But I think each case is different depending on the nature and how competitive the market is for what it is you're selling, how unique your product is, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's one for a follow-up, I suppose.
Yeah, just feel free to follow up, ask us. We won't buy it. We will happily try and answer your questions for you.
Okay. I know you focused a lot of time on TikTok. Somebody's asked that there are a lot of social channels. How much time would you dedicate to TikTok?
It depends on the nature of the business for each one. I personally, if you put a gun against my head now and said, okay, where should you be investing your time? I would look heavily at that because, as I've said, the cost of getting new customers through TikTok is generally half the price of what it is through Meta. Now that can vary by platform, by product, but I look heavily at it and really consider it strongly. I think you're seeing numbers decline on Meta through Instagram and Facebook. You're seeing numbers grow on TikTok, and at the same time, businesses that are actually advertising, there's not the same competition there. We've seen this in every market we've ever worked in. If you take TV advertising, for example, let's all think about TV and how much TV we watch. So over the years, we've watched less and less what's called linear TV. That's TV where you go on, some of you might go and watch Strictly Come Dancing on a Saturday night. That's linear TV when you're watching it there and then. But if it's a channel like ITV, the costs of advertising on those channels have not dropped as fast as the eyeballs have been going away from it.
Yeah.
Let me just repeat that again. So as those channels are losing viewers, the costs, let's say they've lost 20% of their viewers over like 3 years, their costs haven't come down 20%. And the same is true of those other channels. So the quicker that you move into the new stuff, when it becomes available, where there's relatively low competition from businesses, the better the chance you've got.
So get in there quickly before everybody else does. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what would you?
I don't think you haven't got, if you think you've got, you're not got long on this. In a year's time, we probably will be talking about something else. So TikTok is the opportunity absolutely this year.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say is the best form of creative to use on TikTok?
You know what? I'm going to let Henri come in and answer that one, because she's a specialist in the office at the moment. So I'm sat downstairs, she's upstairs. I'll ask Henri to answer what do we think is the best form of creative?
Sure. So the best performing creatives on TikTok are what they're called UGC, so user-generated content. That is a typical ad format of TikTok. They've demonstrated to drive results because they typically drive cheaper traffic, and they're able to get the results at a much cheaper price. So the cost per advertising with UGC creatives, which is the typical TikTok ad format, is very, very cheap. They're the typical videos that come across as created by customers, but instead they advertise a business product or services. So we've tested UGC creatives on TikTok for some of our customers, and we also tried to use them on other platforms, and we saw that they drove incredible results, and they managed to decrease the CPL, the cost per advertising, and increase the sales massively for our customers, from the customers we tried this type of creatives. So these creatives are, as you might imagine, so because they're the typical TikTok ad format, they're very short, they're very fun, they're entertaining, and they're straight to the point. The key to the creatives is really to grab the attention of your customers during the first 3 seconds. So in the first 3 seconds of the videos, you really should try to tie your business unique selling points with your customers' pain points. So that is really key.
That's very good advice. Thank you. We actually had a question come in about working with creators on TikTok versus making your own content. I suppose you could also leverage the creators' followers if you use them.
Exactly. So there are two. I saw this question. So there are different ways you can increase your followers and also your views, your video views, and your engagement overall on your TikTok account. One way to do it is to promote your TikTok organic videos. So you can simply boost essentially your videos from the actual TikTok platform. Another way to do it is by going to TikTok ads, if you do have a TikTok ad account, and to create a traffic campaign that sends people directly to visit your TikTok page. Or you can set up campaigns with a video views objective, and that will increase the views of the videos.
Okay. We've got somebody online who has said they've got a following of over 600,000, yet the views have dropped as of the likes, and the lives get 10 views or less. What can be done to help that?
600,000 on which platform?
That's a good question. It doesn't say. I'm presuming it's TikTok.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, if it's about TikTok, you can either boost your videos organically, or you can run campaigns from TikTok ads to increase the engagement and the video views.
Okay. And the oh, thank you. So yes, it was TikTok. And there's a lot of obviously conversation about TikTok and videos. Do you find that YouTube is declining now? The use of YouTube and YouTube video adverts?
I mean, YouTube is not declining. TikTok is definitely the newest and the social media platform to go to in 2023. I think is key to go to tap into TikTok this year. But YouTube is still there, is still running. But it really depends, I think, like on the type of business. So if you are an e-com business, you want to make sure that you have Google Ads running, and with Google Ads, YouTube comes in. So I think if there is one key takeaway from this webinar, is the importance of diversifying your presence across multiple channels. So in addition to TikTok, and someone also asked this question, like which platform has more business, which platform would you recommend starting? There isn't a specific answer to this. I think like the key here is to try and to be present in as many channels as possible that are relevant for your business. So for example, if you're not a B2B business, then you wouldn't go too much on LinkedIn. I mean, you need to be mindful of the channels you select, but also you need to try and be present as much as you can in every single channels, and to be able to calibrate the intensity of your presence there.
And would you say that you need to have a lot of content refreshed regularly?
Definitely, yes, especially on TikTok. So we saw that the more you upload new content and new creatives, the better. So typically, I mean, ideally once a week, if in terms of TikTok advertising. So you can launch TikTok creatives once a week, minimum ideally. But in terms of TikTok organic, if you can possibly engage your customers with a video a day, or at least like 2 or 3 videos a week, yeah, that would be, I mean, that is the best practice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. When you use the example of the L'Oreal ad, somebody has asked, how do brands manage to walk the tightrope of product placements and ads being seen as natural while meeting the ad compliance?
I'm not entirely sure on the answer to that question, must be honest, but I will get back to you after this presentation.
Okay. And that's a very good point. We will be able to answer these questions. We have the names of most of the people that answered them, so we can come back to you directly. But also we've got contact details for Steve. I think they're up on the screen, but we can put those in the chat as well. So if you do have any questions, Steve, if you put the contact details for Push in the chat, and Nikki, if you wouldn't mind putting contact details for GS1 in the chat as well. And if you've got any questions about using TikTok Shop, or in particular using GTINs to list your products on social platforms as well, we can help you to answer those.
Super.
We've got some specific questions about products related to products. So it might be better for us to answer those directly to the person who's asked them. So notice one about cashew nuts as well. So we can send that response directly to you.
Please do. Yes, because we work with some firms in those sorts of sectors, so we know our way around food industry.
Great, thank you very much. So we've got a couple of minutes left. I just wanted to say thank you very much to Steve and your team for the presentation and for fielding those questions. We've had a lot of great questions from the audience as well, and we hope you've really found value in this hour-long session. As I mentioned before, we are going to be sharing this presentation with you all, everybody that's registered, and answering your questions as well. For everybody that has attended this session, we're offering 20% off of GS1 UK membership. So if you want to get your barcodes from us, your GTINs from us, you'll get 20% off of your first year using the code FUEL20. And we'll drop that in the chat as well, and it'll be in the follow-up email, so you'll have the information there for you to use. And also don't forget about the offer from Push. Steve kindly said that he'll give was it 10 people, Steve, a free creative review? Yes,
up to 10.
Yeah, so get in there quickly. Drop Steve an email with your business's details. Make sure you get that creative review in.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. And we have another webinar in March, on the 7th of March, and it's about how to optimize your sales once that you've got the people on your website. So how do you optimize on-site sales? So please join us on the 7th, and we'll be joined by Northern Comfort, who have a specialist on-site CRO agency. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.